Hi, this is Robert Hooks, and you are listening to TV Confidential, and keep doing it.
Ed Robertson, welcoming you back to TV Confidential, radio talk show about television. Very happy to welcome Ms. Denise Nicholas. Most of you listening tonight know Denise best as Liz McIntyre in the groundbreaking ABC comedy drama Room 222, or as Harriet Long on the long-running NBC drama In the Heat of the Night, as well as her many other movie and TV roles. Over the past few decades, however, Denise Nicholas has reinvented herself as a screenwriter and author. She began that transition by writing 6 episodes of In the Heat of the Night, working under the guiding hand of her co-star and longtime friend Carol O'Connor, then achieved a lifelong dream with the publication of her first novel, Freshwater Road, a critically acclaimed account of the civil rights movement that drew inspiration from Denise's experience as a working actress with the Free Southern Theater in the Deep South in 1964. Denise's new memoir, Finding Home, is a moving look at her lifelong search for who and what she is, a search that not only navigates the intersections of love and identity, but shows how Denise's experience in Hollywood helped shape her understanding of success, intimacy, and commitment. It is also a search that sees Denise enduring a series of traumatic events throughout her life, including nearly being killed several times while performing with the Free Southern Theater, overcoming her volatile marriage to Bill Withers, and trying to unfathom the tragic murder of her younger sister in 1980, a case that is still unsolved. Finding Home is available wherever books are sold. Denise Nicholas, welcome to TV Confidential.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
In our open, I said that you quote-unquote reinvented yourself as a writer. I will admit I said that for purposes of the introduction. Having read Finding Home, I know that that's not a completely true statement. You have always had the soul of a writer almost from the time you started working professionally on stage.
That's true. That is true. I think it was more a hobby and kind of a secret passion. I just did a lot of journaling, took a lot of English classes, and also I started studying Spanish, but studying Spanish to me introduced me to the work of Garcia Lorca, who was my favorite poet. So writers and writing have always been extremely important to me. I just couldn't figure out a way that I could get in that door. That was what I thought from the time I was in high school until I got in the door.
And one of the takeaways from Finding Home, folks, is you can make that transition from a dreamer into a doer if that passion is still in you and if you're willing to put in the work and learn your craft and make that dream of reality. And that's a big part of your story as well.
Yes, it is. It is. Thank you for saying that. It's absolutely a huge part of my story. Huge. I'm like a dog with a bone when I get onto something. For example, this morning I couldn't find my earbuds to do this interview, right? So I'm running around the house, going in drawers and old purses and all kinds of stuff. And I would not, I could do the thing without the earbuds, but I wanted the earbuds.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I mean, I understand. Being a writer myself, I mean, sometimes I will. That happens to me as well. So,
Yes.
and even though it's quote unquote just a set of earbuds, you're not going to be in the space to work or do what you need to do unless you have that with you. That's a very relatable experience.
Got to have your stuff. That's right. All the stuff that helps you do what you're trying to do. You got to have it close at hand. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Finding Home is available wherever books are. Is it Agate?
Agate.
Agate. Okay, so sometimes it's as simple as it looks, you know. Finding Home is available wherever books are sold through Agate Publishing, agatepublishing.com, as well as Amazon.com. Agate Publishing is also the home of Freshwater Water Road, Denise's critically acclaimed novel about the civil rights movement that is largely based on her experiences as a working actress with the Free Southern Theater in Jackson, Mississippi in 1964 at the height of the civil rights movement. This is a stupid question, Denise. I don't know how else to ask it. You write about some of the... Okay, most people, if they go on the road to do a play, all they have to do is worry about their parts and maybe, the stage directions and making sure they're hitting their mark and all the things an actor worries about. You had to do that, but you had, you pretty much, wherever you went during that summer in '64, you basically had to scout the town.
Yes,
to make sure that someone wasn't going to throw a bomb.
Exactly. Well, it happened.
Yeah. And
it was like living in terror all the time.
And this is the stupid question. I've talked to enough actors to know that you got to concentrate, no matter what goes on in live theater. I can only imagine how difficult it was knowing the reality that, you were performing in.
Right. Yeah, it's like a thing that I remember during that time. I was there for 2 years. There was never a time when you were not aware of the danger that you were in. It was constant, even when you went to sleep at night, because we were staying in the homes of people in most of the communities that we toured to. And a lot of those homes were shot into if the people in those homes had decided to try to make a run to try to register to vote or house people who were in the civil rights movement. They were living in danger and living in fear pretty much the whole time. So as we stayed with those people, we had to understand what they were living through because we were about to participate in the same or very similar situation. We always felt, for some stupid reason, we sometimes felt, I think in the beginning, that we had some kind of coverage. I don't know where we got that from. So, because we were all sitting ducks, stand on the stage, any stage, and you are a sitting duck, and leave the theater in the dead of night, which we had to do many, many, many times, never knowing if you were being followed or which did happen. And so it becomes a way of life. So you're living with this ball of fear and terror in your heart and in your mind, even as you go through the rest of what is required of you as a human being. So it gave me an understanding. It gave me many things, but certainly it gave me an understanding of what life had been like in some places, not all places, some places in the South for hundreds of years.
And in many ways, it created awareness. It made you all the more aware of certain realities that were going on in our country. And,
yes.
And even when you made the journey west to come to L.A. to star in Room 222, there were certain... that wasn't an escape from those realities. There were many instances in which racism reared its ugly head in the industry, even among some of the crew people you were working with.
No, that's for sure. It happened. I write about it. That one episode that happened off Stage 10 at 20th Century Fox, when I was in there going to the ladies' room and washing my hands, and I could hear some Teamsters out just outside in the little alcove before you go into where we were filming with Stage 10 at Fox. And they were talking about throwing us out of the cars on the freeway, killing us because there were too many black people in Hollywood. In 1969 and 1970, there were 3.5 black people in Hollywood. So, it was constant. That was a shock. That was a shock because I think when I came to California, actually when I went to New York from Mississippi, and I was in New York for 2 years, and then I got the job on Room 222, so I came west. But I believed in my heart at the time that the civil rights movement had been uber successful, that things had changed, that there were there was this whole new energy and dynamic happening because of things that had been accomplished, the right to vote. In some places, not in all places, but it was moving, it was changing. And then to wake up one day and discover that there was still a whole lot more work to be done, which we can see now. Mm-hmm. Now we reverted back to even before.
Yep.
You know, some of the things going on now. So it's a river that has no end, evidently. So we just, you know, you got to deal with it. You got to deal with it, so you deal with it.
And one of the ways that you deal with it, so to speak, is you write about it, which you've done. Which you've done both in Freshwater Road, your novel, and which you've done in Finding Home, your new memoir, both Freshwater Road and Finding Home by our guest Denise Nicholas, available wherever books are sold through Agate Publishing, agatepublishing.com, as well as I don't know why that made me laugh the way you say that. So agatepublishing.com, as well as Amazon.com. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Ed Robertson, thanking you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss our next episode.
Hi, I'm Kerry Lester, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
I understand that you based your character on Route 222 after your Aunt Finette.
Yes, I did. She was a guidance counselor in the Detroit Public Schools. And I talked to her when I got the role. Of course, I talked to her and just kind of had a feeling about her. She was a very serious person. Of course, our show was not super dramatic. There were dramatic incidents, but it was comedy drama.
Yeah.
She had to. So, but she was a very successful psychologist. In fact, when we moved out to the little town south of Ann Arbor where I went to high school, she tested me. She had me retested in Detroit because I was in Detroit Public Schools at that time, and then they placed me in a higher grade because I did such a good job on the test. But she was responsible for that. She pushed me. She really did push me. She wanted me to be. I guess she wanted me to be kind of like her. She was pushing me.
Did you ever tell her that she based Liz on you?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I never did. I never had the opportunity. So.
Well, I like to think somewhere in the great ether she knows and she's smiling.
I think so, because she knew that I admired her. She did know that. Once I left Detroit and moved out to this little town, Milan, and then I went on to University of Michigan. I didn't have a whole lot of contact with her from then on, and I think she became ill, and I can't remember what year she passed. But she was my step-aunt. She was my stepfather's sister. But she's not somebody that I grew up around. I didn't get to know her until I was a teenager.
Well, she certainly left an imprint on you, and that is evident not just in your work on screen, but it is part of your unique voice as a writer, and I say that because not only have I read Finding Home cover to cover, Denise, I had an opportunity to read. I haven't read Freshwater Road in its entirety yet, but you contributed about 3 or 4 pieces to A Gathering of Voices, the anthology by the Longwood Writers Workshop that is also available through Amazon as well as longwoodwritersworkshop.com. Even though each of the stories you tell in both Gathering of Voices and in Finding Home, they're different stories, the unique Denise-ness, for lack of a better word, is there.
That's great. I love it. I will use it.
feel free.
Yeah, thank you. Writers are thieves, you know that.
Yes.
I'm sure you know that. Yes.
Absolutely.
I'll steal the teeth out of your mouth.
And I would be highly honored if you did. So, I want to talk about some of the other topics you explore in Finding Home. But before we leave the subject of Room 222, it was fun for me to learn that one of the actors considered to play Pete was Billy D. Williams.
Yes. I tested with him for Room 222.
And I don't know how this took place in your chronology or whether you remember or not, but I happen. One of my books, I wrote a history of the FBI television show with Quinn Martin and but with Ephraim Zimbalist, and you did either you did a guest shot with Billy D. So even though you didn't work with Billy D. on Room 222, you worked with him on the FBI.
And there you go. What goes around comes around. What goes around
comes around. Finding Home by our guest Denise. Denise, I almost said Denise Williams. So that's a Freudian slip. Finding Home by Denise Nicholas, available wherever books are sold through Agate Publishing, agatepublishing.com, as well as Amazon.com. We talked about this a little bit before we started recording.
Mm-hmm.
You write a lot about traumatic experiences.
Yes, I do. Yes.
In Finding Home, including, the day you got the phone call that led to you discovering that your youngest sister was murdered.
Yes.
When it came to writing that chapter or any of the other traumatic events in your life, was it difficult for you to revisit those moments, or were you able to create the sort of distance you need to create as a writer in order to navigate those scenes?
I experienced both. I think that the difficulty of writing this book as opposed to Freshwater Road is precisely that. It's because I was dealing with personal trauma. And I think, I don't even know how, it took a long time to write this book. And that's the reason it took so long. I kept backing away from it because I didn't feel I could do it well. I didn't feel I could do it justice. And I kept moaning and groaning to Doug, my publisher at Agate. And he came out here. He's in Chicago. He came out here to California. He sat right. I'm at my computer table right now. He sat right next to me, and he said, "You can do it. You can do it. You're a good writer." He just kept saying, just like Carol O'Connor used to, "You can do it. You can do it. You can do it." I'm like, oh God, I can't. And it was. I didn't want to dredge up the difficult things that I faced in my life, but that's what a memoir does. You have to get into not just the happy things, but the difficult things. So it was hard for me, and I have kind of a presence in my life and in my work. People see me as kind of calm, cool, and collected, and I'm anything but. I'm a crazy person. So, I can pretend I'm all well put together. But, honey, when I sit down at this computer and start writing, it's like, oh, Lord, I would pull my hair out and scratch things because it's really difficult. And it's really difficult, as I say to people, to put your difficult passages of your life, to put that on blast, to share it with the whole world. But that's the responsibility of writing a memoir. So I said, I have to do this. I kept saying, I have to do this. And it was just taking me so long. And it was because I kept backing away from the difficulty of the emotional difficulty, not the craft difficulty. It was all about the pain of it, the pain of my sister's death. the difficulty of the earlier father issues that I had, mom issues. And then at the same time as I'm writing that book, I'm sitting here, I had my mother here in the house for 5 years before she passed last September. She had dementia and she couldn't take care of herself anymore, so I moved her in here. And I had caregivers coming and going, and then I'm sitting here trying to write, and all this insanity is going on all over the house. I was like, oh, Lord, I don't know if I'll ever get this book done. But then in time, with Doug kind of pushing me, and another writer friend of mine, Ed Boyer, who's a journalist, he's from Detroit. He's out here. He wrote for LA Times for years and years. And he's a close friend, and he would come over and sit by me at this computer table, and you can do it, both of them, you can do it, this is good, don't be afraid, it's good. So I had people bolstering my chicken little self. And thank God for them, because I tell you, I would have walked away from this one. I tell you, writing about some of the things I write about in this book, I was ready to run for cover. I said, but I have to do it.
Finding Home by our guest, Denise Nicholas, available wherever books are sold through Agate Publishing, AGATE, agatepublishing.com, as well as Amazon.com. Denise will stay with us for one more segment. We hope you'll stay with us as we continue our conversation here in TV Confidential.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-222-0511. 800-222-0511. Again, that's 800-222-0511.